My name is Chris Claremont. You're watching Omni X-Men.
Hello, everybody. My name is Monkey D. Luffy, and one day I will be king of the pirates. And in case you're wondering what I'm talking about One Piece, Monkey D. Luffy. And besides, I'm a pirate, and why wouldn't you want to be a pirate? I mean, one day you can have everything that you want, be on the sea, have the back in your wind, salty sea air, loyal crew by your side. It'll be wonderful. But today we are not talking about One Piece. We are talking about X-Men, and specifically Omni X-Men. Of course, it's not just me. It is my good friend and co-host, and maybe one day even part of my crew, my good friend John's Comics with Kids. John.
Hey, it's your favorite Bat Bro here. What's going on? The California Cape Crusader. What's happening, bro?
You are chilling.
Hang loose, man. Catch waves, catch criminals. That's how we live. It's all happening. It's all deadly.
Would you like to join me to the Grand Line and go after the One Piece?
I got my sunscreen. I'm ready for the outdoors. No longer the dark night. I'm the downtime night. I need my break. Everybody needs that break time.
This is fantastic. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. We are the Omni X-Men, and we're back with season 4. Oh my goodness! Throw a few more hypes in there. Yeah, this is wild. I can't believe. First of all, happy Halloween to everybody. Hence the Halloween themes that we have going on. In case you
is that? I thought we were talking about Omni One Piece or Omni Batman. I don't know what's going on here.
That's next. That's coming up next. As Chaos is here. He says,
"Got to shake things up."
Is this where we reveal John? This is the One Piece Omni show. Exactly. Yeah, gang. We are starting a bit later in the year than we normally do for Omni X-Men. And for those of you who don't know, Omni X-Men is where John and I break down X-Men issues from these massive omnibus by Chris Claremont, the Chris Claremont era. So yeah, we have a bunch in store that we've been, again, this is our 4th season now. We're going to be kicking off. We have this one here. As you had a different cover than I did.
I do. Yes. I got the John Ramírez, the JRJR cover.
Oh, nice.
You got the updated cover for the Omni.
I think this is Silva.
Is it?
RB Silva. Yeah. So again, if you're new, this is the show where every Tuesday we are going to be live either on my channel or John's channel, which if you're not already following John, make sure you do so. I put his information in the description below. And we'll be live every Tuesday at 9:00 Eastern, and we'll have a guest with us, and we will review whatever that issue is, going in order of the omnibus starting at the beginning. So we had last left off with X-Men 175 and the Magic series, the mini series. Those were our last sets of issues that we went over. So if you're new or if you're just joining us for the first time and you want to get in on all the fun, we have a great community of people here that join us every week, and we have tons of guests. If you're interested in being a guest, reach out to John or myself.
So we have booked. Yeah, we for this new season, there's about 27 to 30 episodes, give or take, and we have booked all but 6. There are 6 episodes left, and we're trying to nobody's double booked yet. So we're just trying to give as many opportunities to new friends, to people to come in and join us. A lot of the people who are going to join us right now, they're in the chat. They get their turn in the grinder with us one time during the season.
Yeah, and it's always a blast. I see a lot of regulars. Before we go any further, let's jump into the chat real quick. Say a quick hello to everybody that's been hanging out here waiting for us. Of course, as I highlighted, Chris, Chaos and Comics hanging out early, talking about the One Piece Omni show. As I was getting into this, by the way, if anyone's wondering, or if you follow me on Instagram, I randomly started watching and reading One Piece, and I've just become really obsessed with it, so much that I got the outfit
because it's great. Because it's the show is a lot of fun. I have not read the book yet. JP's like, "Oh, you convinced him to read the manga," and I was like, "I haven't even read the manga."
Oh, we thought it was you.
No, I didn't do anything.
I
blame Sheena.
Totally, Sheena. Yeah,
Sheena's a manga pusher.
I randomly decided to watch the live action, and I was hooked ever since. So
yeah.
anyways, that's where this joke here ties in. So Chaos, good to see you, brother. Thanks for hanging out. We got our good friend Jackson Roy Kirk hanging out with us as well. He goes, wow, it's been a year, and Claremont doesn't look a day older. I know. I don't know what he uses. I don't know, but you're right. Roy Kirk, another regular. Good to see you, my friend. Hope you've been doing well during our hiatus here over the summer. There's JP, as we were just talking about him. Have you even finished a volume yet? Yeah. I have, yes. And it's dangerous because I mean, this stuff takes up shelf room big time. and I see all these great.
If you look behind JP on his shows, you'll see an entire One Piece shelf or two, even like extended. A lot of good One Piece love going on there.
Nice. We got our good friend Candace in the chat. What is up, Candace? She says, love the costume, guys. Appreciate it. Candace is a big manga fan as well. And she's also been enjoying the X-Men stuff that we've been diving into. So appreciate you, Candace, for hanging out.
Yeah, she was diving in the deep end for her last year because I think it was her first time really reading these books.
Yeah.
Yep. And for her, like she was following along with us and asking great questions in the chat and really getting into the hilarity sometimes of these stories. So shout out to Candace. You were awesome.
Absolutely. JP says, I'm ready for the One Piece Omni show upgrade just because no Cyclops. Shots fired early on in the season 4 already coming from JP's corner. Roy Kirk says, downtime or downtown night?
Maybe a little both.
We got Big O in the chat.
Paul, what's up?
He says it's back. Let's go. Yeah, I'm with you, man. And Bobby Delegado Station. Bobby, good to see you, brother. Yes, happy Halloween to you as well. Hope everybody is having fun, being safe, and we appreciate the people hanging with us right now, being that it is a prime time for Halloween this evening. So thanks for being with us. Whack Comics in the chat. What's going on, Wacky? They said manga over comics. There it is.
Lee just dropped a buck wild video that I had to have a little fun with on my Instagram today. So if you've missed it, when you're done with this show, check over on the Lee's Whack Comics channel to see Comic Man Andy like you've never seen him before.
Oh man, definitely got to check that out. We got Trailblazing. What's up, brother? Good to see you. Says what's going on. JP. I know how much shelf currently own 103 volumes of it. Holy crap! Is it?
It's still going. It's still going. Same writer, creator, all the way through.
That's great. I can't wait. Great journey. Damien, Sleepy Reader 666, also hanging out with us. What's going on, my friend? Yeah, you can do it.
I'm Beach Blanket Batman, the California Cape Crusader. Everybody needs a break from fighting crime.
There's the name. Yeah, when I take the comment down, there it is. Beach Blanket Batman. Boom. Let's see. Chet, what's up, brother? Good to see you. We were just talking about you earlier. He says, okay. Glad to be back. Glad you all survived the Hellfire Gala. Yeah. Barely. It's been a wild ride for the current X-Men stuff.
Absolutely. Preparing for the fall.
Good to see you, Chet. As always, we're excited as well to be back, kicking off another season for Omni X-Men. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Our issues. Wow. Yeah. All right. Great. I'm in. I mean, we need all that in order to, complete, multiple seasons of our One Piece show. So this works. This works. And if you play your cards right, you could be part of my crew. So we wanted to talk a little bit about, again, with the show, the Omnibus break, just discuss a little bit about it. And then also we have some questions for each other that we had prepared earlier, which we don't know, right? Because I didn't know. We didn't touch. So I'm curious.
Secret.
Yeah, I'm curious what you have for me here. I hope it's not too challenging.
Do we want to start off by listing what's in the new Omnibus, just so people can prepare themselves, maybe look at their back issues, see what they've got, or check the app and load anything?
But before we do, I want to mention that as part of just the grand aspect of the show, and again, just more for anyone that might be joining us for the first time, one extra piece other than just breaking down an issue per episode. we also take the time to do trivia that's based on the week prior or the episode prior. So you'll want to make sure that you're tuning in to John's channel or my own each week so that you know what's been going on, what happened in the last issue. Sometimes we ask questions that have nothing to do with the issue. We might ask, like, what was John's t-shirt? What was on his t-shirt last episode? Random things like that. So with these trivia questions, we have a point system where if you're one of the first two correct to answer it in the chat live during the show, you will get a point, which will go towards a list that John keeps analog style, old school, writing on paper that he almost lost last season.
It's 2 seasons ago, but yes,
yeah.
I'm better about it now, thanks to Albert, who has given me so many journals I can easily keep track now.
There you go. So if you get a point on the board there, we'll keep track of it. And at the end of the year, you can win yourself some really cool prizes. We do a huge giveaway show at the very end of the season. I shouldn't say end of the year, end of the season. We usually end around June, around the summertime, right around our birthdays. So, so stick around for that each and every episode at the end. You also get an answer as a funny answer if you don't know the correct answer, and you will get a point for that if you're the funniest, chosen by our guests usually. So
next week
as well.
Next week, we'll ask questions about tonight. So whatever you're watching and enjoying tonight, those will be the fodder for our comedy questions for next week. Yep. And we've got Magic Lasso kicking it off for the episode number 1.
Nice.
So he will be the one that you'll want to aim your Diana Ross jokes at.
Yes. I can't wait. So make sure you stick around for those during our episodes. We as part of our giveaway, the past few years now, we've been giving away original artwork from some of the local creators and people that we've met just within these past couple of years, whether it be on Instagram or YouTube or through friends or connections or even at other Comic-Cons. So we'll be doing that again. We're working on figuring out the artists right now. We have a couple in mind. So stick around for that. We've had some amazing pieces of artwork in the past that we've given away. So that's one of the big things that you can win again this year for our trivia questions. And then, of course, we usually have a few other things. I'm usually giving away Lego. John usually has some sort of mystery box that he'll tailor towards.
And I'm still trying to get chat. I got you. I got a few things, but you are, it's like trying to shop for a woman. It's not easy. It's complicated. You are a tricky gentleman to shop for. I'm working on it. I got a few things up my sleeve. I'm not ready to send yours yet, but it's coming together. It's coming together.
Yeah. He just owns everything, and everything he owns is 9.2 or higher.
Yeah, I don't have a single signed Stan Lee book. It's not like I'm going to be able to hook him up with what he wants.
The bar is set very high, John. So
it really is.
Good luck. Questions include clothing being worn by the hosts. Yes, very true. Hint. Yeah. JP says, Monkey D. Luffy, so do I get first point for next week for answering questions about Justice costumes? There you go. So he's already jumping the gun.
You've already got spelling perfect. I'm just saying.
We will check if your name's Chet.
That period, that little period next to the D is going to matter when Chet types it so quickly. Yeah, it's gonna matter.
So I think that's the general concept. Again, the show's usually about
right.
So you want to make sure to have a drink, have a snack, enjoy yourself during our shows.
I got this ready for Lasso tonight, and apparently he's working. I texted him that we were live. He's like, "No, I'm working." So there you go, Ryan. There's your lady.
He's got to just walk out on that job, man. I'm telling you, Tuesday night, if it's going to affect our show, then he's got to prioritize.
Unacceptable.
So now. John, as you mentioned before, let's talk about the issue. You want to kick it off, kind of just
So this new omnibus that we're talking, which is the 4th Claremont omnibus, the issues that it includes are, as far as Uncanny X-Men, we're talking about issues 176, which will be next week on my channel, and it goes all the way through to issue 193. So those are the Uncanny issues right there. It also includes the Wolverine and Kitty Pryde 6-issue miniseries. It includes X-Men Annual 8, and it includes the X-Men and Alpha Flight 2-issue miniseries as well. And it also has Marvel Fanfare issue 40. So all of those things are in this omnibus. Now, it's not exactly in the order I just said it. The Wolverine Kitty Pryde miniseries is kind of like sandwiched right in the center. And most of the rest of the extra issues that are not Uncanny are at the end of the volume. And then there, as with any omnibus, there's always some great supplemental materials, and we'll go through and spend a little time on the finale episode or the final issue, just kind of talking through some of that. And we have got Sove collector Michael with us on that last episode, so we can get into some of the Marvel fanfare and goodies.
Nice. Real quick, I want to show, because I saw, well, actually, hold on. So, quick hello to our good friend Tony, Old Wolf 65 in the house. What is up, Tony? Roy Kirk says, splitting and typos count. Chat. There you go.
Those typos. Don't typo anything.
And Bobby said, yeah, big book. So I wanted to just hold up to show you volume 3, which we covered last week, and the difference in volume 4. I don't know, actually,
volume 4 is significantly shorter, which is partly why we're starting now basically at Halloween, when last year we started at the start of October. And we might end earlier in June than normal if we don't take, days off for being sick or unexpected reasons. This will be but this is one of the shorter omnis in the 4 that we've done so far.
Right. Yeah. So, like you said, one thing I wanted to highlight or mention, as you were mentioning some of the books that were going to be part of this, the Kitty Pryde and Wolverine 6-issue miniseries. I will just say now that I have a very unique and special video that when I did an interview, I've never released it. I was waiting for us to do this. I interviewed Al Milgram, our good friend Al Milgram.
Nice.
Who has done a ton of work he did this portion of that particular one in this omnibus. But I did want to release that, but I wanted to wait because he talks a little bit about those issues. I wanted to wait till we got there.
Nice.
Into a little more detail.
So look forward to that in February.
Yes. Yeah, we got a while.
We get heckled a fair amount from members of the community who are like, they signed me up for a show in May back in October and September. That's kind of how the show rolls. And then, of course, we're going to change the dates on you by the time we get there. So it's a little bit ridiculous, but that's how we do it.
That's how we roll. That's how we roll. That's how Beach Blanket Batman rolls.
Yes. Because, hey, bro, time is all relative, man. When I came to the island, I got rid of my watch. I was like, I got one on my phone. I don't need it. I don't need a clock.
All right. What else? I was trying to think if there's we already talked about the cover, which was cool. Oh, actually, I forgot. I actually have I got mine signed. That was the other thing.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, that's been my new thing now with going to Comic Cons. I try to bring a omnibus with me and get it signed if there's artists around.
I am not going to bring an omnibus to a Comic Con unless it's like next door.
It's not.
If it's like at my neighbor's house, I'll bring an omnibus. I'm not going to schlep an omnibus around to a convention center.
You get one signature. You gotta stick to one. And
unacceptable. Unacceptable.
It gives you a back problem.
What in the hell are you doing?
Candace says, I've been waiting to read that miniseries. I actually have the issues, so that that'll be a fun read for the show. That's awesome. Yeah. I think I have the issues as well. I think I bought them last year. But yeah,
and one of the shows that we do not have anyone signed up for includes the middle 2, 3, and 4 issues of that story. So if somebody's watching and they're like, "Ooh, that might be kind of fun," we got Fable on the first 2, we got JP on the last 2, but we got nobody on the center 2 issues. We're throwing that out there,
splitting them up a little bit in case anybody was wondering. For any of the miniseries, we usually break them up to some degree. There you go, Beach Blanket Comic Con, perhaps. Yeah,
I'm down for that. I'm down for that. That sounds super chill.
Chat is complimenting himself. All right, so other than that, I mean,
like, I've never read the X-Men Alpha Flight miniseries. I'm very excited for those 2 issues. Okay, that's exciting for me. So there's and that Marvel Fanfare 40. I don't think I've read that. So there's definitely a few issues this time that'll be my first time reading. I'm excited for those. But most of the rest, I think I've read.
I wanted to mention that Ramita is like the main highlighted artist.
Yes, we're entering the Ramita era, which is it's a very tumultuous one for fans. Some people love his stuff. Some people don't love his stuff. This was when I started reading the series. In fact, I would argue the next omnibus, volume 5, is really when Johnny found the X-Men for the first time. So a lot of my favorite issues are in volumes 5 and 6 of this Claremont volumes run. But this is the beginning of that. A lot of what we get here at the end of this omnibus is when I first found these books. So I have a little nostalgia love for John Romita Jr.'s
Sure.
X-Men. And he also did a Daredevil run that I was reading as a kid. So I get people that don't like his style, but for me, there's a lot of nostalgia connected to the work of JRJR. I'm not insane for it, but it's hard to escape it.
This is perfect because that actually ties into one of my questions for tonight. So that leads or gives me an idea at least how I want to phrase. Roy Kirk's out. Good to see you, brother.
Happy birthday to your dad. That's awesome.
Yeah. Nice.
She found out.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Tony says watching these two makes me glad I have a drinking problem. Tony, you're the best, man. You're the best. Yep.
Good to see you, Tony.
Some JR love.
And I think I booked you, Tony. Didn't I book you for something? Yeah, Tony's coming on issue 182. So you'll see that guy. You'll see that guy for 182.
Oh gosh, I hope that lands on the night that we stream on your channel, so we don't.
Even numbers are on my channel, so yeah, Tony's on my channel.
Oof, that'll be the last show that John has on. After that one, just saying, you have to start a new account, man.
There it is.
All right. Anything else that you wanted to? So I mentioned. So I mentioned Romita. I mentioned Milgram, who does the 6-issue miniseries. Is this Paul Windsor Smith?
Yeah, it's Barry Windsor Smith. Yes, we had Paul Smith last season a lot, but yeah, Barry Windsor Smith, I believe, has an issue in this Omni, and then is famous for the life death Storm issues in Australia, and I think we get one of them, if I'm not mistaken, one of them in this omnibus, and then one of them in the next omnibus. Yes, exactly. So issue 1, I guess it's 192. If I'm not mistaken, 191. It's Chet's issue that he's doing. I think is the Barry Windsor Smith life death, which is it's a story of Storm dealing with some very heavy stuff, and Barry Windsor Smith came in and did some great work.
Oh, nice. Okay, I definitely have those issues. I recognize those.
I mean, he's an underappreciated X-Men artist, right? I mean, you talk about the Weapon X story, which I'm getting those gloves off. I'm starting to sweat in those gloves. I just snagged a really great trade paperback of Barry Windsor Smith's Weapon X, which, if you guys haven't read it, is basically these wonderful Marvel Comics Presents issues where he did a Wolverine story as the main story, but there was always a follow-up story, a different story with a different artist. But this just collects all the Weapon X storyline pieces into one volume. And he has just a really unusual way that I think for me is totally nostalgia wise connected to my love of X-Men. And so I have a lot of love for Life Death, which I have a hardcover for. And then now I'm very happy to finally have a trade of Weapon X.
Nice. Very nice. Chet says Romita art meh, tolerated the Claremont story, but that's just me, I bet. Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to
picky. He's a burner ride or die guy. You know, he doesn't give you anybody else credit. He barely recognizes Cockrum. He's like, yeah, that guy was there.
Yeah. He's like Derek, Dave, yeah, Dave.
Yeah, Frederico Cockrum. That guy's pretty good.
All right. Do you want to get into some of our questions here?
Yeah. So we like to spend a little time in each episode getting to know our guest, but because we have no guest, we're going to get to know each other a little bit. It's been a while. I haven't seen this guy in months. Sure. We just tag each other in videos and send each other Wordles every day. That's about it. Yeah. I legitimately text this gentleman more than my brothers on a daily basis. If you count the Wordles, the Wordles, he doesn't reply when I do well. When I crush it, right? When I get a 3, 2 7s, and a 58 in all of my Wordles, silence. It's crickets on the other end of the phone.
It's
just
crazy
nothing.
how that lines up with really busy days at work. It really is like
the days when I get like a 5 and I get 2 red balls, and this guy's like, "Oh, I nailed that today. I crushed it."
Work slows down completely.
So that's the little peek behind the window here. So yeah, I asked a bunch of friends in a bunch of chat groups, "Hey, do you have questions for Justin with our Omni X-Men kickoff show tonight? Do you have questions?" The number one question I heard is, "What is Omni X-Men?" No, we're not going to do that one. We won't worry about that one.
Start from the beginning.
Yeah, sorry. I had to inform a lot of people. We answered that question already.
Rewind. Go back.
This question is, I'm actually genuinely curious to know, Justin. For a lot of the stuff we're reading now, it's your first time reading it. So these last few Omnis, your first time reading it. What has been the biggest surprise for you?
Ooh. Just out of everything we've covered?
Yeah. I mean, we've gotten a lot of different artists, a lot of different storylines, a lot of different new characters, the stuff you haven't experienced before. What has been the biggest surprise or shocker for you?
To me, I think one of the biggest surprises that come to mind, at least, is that I am shocked how much I loved Volume 3 last season. And I say that because everyone highlights Dave Cockrum, John Byrne, that era.
Right.
And Chris Claremont kicking things off. And of course, getting into when we created the show, I already read all the John Byrne stuff, which covered almost like half.
Right.
Or it was the first whole omnibus.
Yeah.
Going all the way through halfway through the Dark Phoenix saga. So I already kind of knew like what I was getting into and was very excited, that we were going to go over some of this epic stuff.
Right.
But I was worried after we got past the John Byrne stuff because I didn't really hear much, and a lot of people only talked highly about the Byrne era, and I'm like, okay, so is this show going to take a dip? Are we just going to bash? I'm like, are we going to bash these issues? Like, I mean, we tease and stuff, but like, are we genuinely going to hate these issues? Like, I didn't know what to.
Like, I got to buy these crappy omnibus, and I got to have these things on my shelf, and I hate everything.
And so I had this, I guess, kind of a lower expectation because of the lack of hype on some of that of what 3 covered. So and again, some of this was even volume 2, so like halfway through 2,
and some of this is you just got to stop talking to Chet. But yeah, I get it.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Once I blocked him, it all became clear, and
you got all the positivity just skyrockets at that point,
totally, right? It's amazing.
Makes a huge difference.
But yeah, ultimately that to me was like, I mean, and the grades that I was given, I was all in the 9s, like all throughout last season. A lot of them were a high 9 grade that I was giving them because I was just enjoying it that much. And, the artwork was great. That was the other thing I thought was going to really dip. I've heard people like yourself talk a little bit about what can come in this, and I know like nostalgic for you, Chet mentioning like he's not as big of a fan of what Romita's done, so even that to me is kind of a mixed feeling right now. And I am more familiar with Romita, just more of his later work, which I know he's grown and changed over the years, so I'm still curious what we're going to get out of this. But yeah, I would say I
know that the Brood saga can be divisive, and that's a lot of what our last omnibus included was X-Men in space battling aliens.
Yeah,
I have love for it. I love X-Men in space. I get it that they're like a lot of like discrimination on Earth storylines are the most popular ones. God Loves Man Kills is a masterpiece, but like I also dig the sci-fi outer space stuff, and I was excited that you seem to have the same feel for it.
Right. Oh yeah, big time. So between that and the I don't know what this is nervous.
Yeah, my red balls. Yeah. It's rough.
Hey, we got Daryl in the chat.
Daryl, what's going on, man?
Between the Brood and the vampire vibes that we got with Dracula and Storm and that whole bit, that was a ton of fun. Even the other stuff like with Storm and the relationship between her and Dr. Doom, like the little, the bits that we got of Dr. Doom, learning more about Ilyana Rasputin, like all that stuff to me has really, really been great. So that's definitely, the big highlight for me, I'd say, or surprise, I guess, is and I would tell this to anybody, keep reading, past the chapter and stuff, because the stories are just amazing.
Totally.
Great question.
And I will say for me, like I was happy to see how much this stuff connects to what's going on now. You mentioned Doom, and I feel like Doom's cameos in X-Men Red, or at that time it was Sword. I've really enjoyed the Storm Doom over the years, their banter, their back and forth. And I'm happy whenever I read something from this 80s era that is so clearly a seed being planted for the modern era, and the modern era picks up on it, and the modern era runs with it. Those kind of things, that's wonderful. And I've just finished reading Grant Morrison's new X-Men, and there's stuff in there that connects back to this. So that for me is the juice of reading these older issues, is watching to see how a book I might be reading now is so well informed based on this stuff.
Sure. Absolutely. No, I like it. One of my things I wanted to ask you, and this goes back to a little bit of what you were talking about, tying into the nostalgia. I know that you've read a lot of this stuff, as a kid, just growing up. And as many of you know, this was, a lot of this is my first time going through it. My question for you is, after rereading like a lot of these stories that we've been getting into, has your mind changed on any specific character or story arc from now, when you're reading it now, compared to kind of what you recall from reading it as a kid? Is there anything that really stands out to you that you're like, oh, I actually enjoyed that way more, or maybe you didn't enjoy something way as much?
I think I definitely gained a ton of appreciation for people like Paul Smith and people like Dave Cockrum. I think those guys, it's hard, and to Chet's love and point, John Byrne casts a massive shadow over this run, and it's hard for others to shine inside of that space. That void is really intense.
Yeah,
I've found over the run here a ton of love for guys like Paul Smith and Dave Cockrum, and I'm hopeful to have the same appreciation for the John Romitas and the Mark Silvestris and whomever else we get as we get into the 200s, because I think it's so easy, because of his massive talent, John Byrne, to really miss out on the people that followed before and after, because that shadow is so powerful. Yeah. And what I've been so excited about from reading these books has been the joy. The teenage John did not scour the panels. The teenage John was like, ooh, there's a booty, or ooh, that was a cool explosion, or wow, that punch was really cool.
Right.
Adult John is like watching for transitions, is looking at panel layouts, is really excited by what is being presented, and as a result, appreciating different things, right? And I think that has been the biggest joy of these books, has been the fun of going back and seeing like, wow, this person's an underappreciated talent, and I don't think gets the love that they deserve. And again, no shame on people like John Byrne, because obviously he's the GOAT for a lot of people for a very good reason. Sure. But for me, like, it's been fun to see all these other talents that maybe get overlooked.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. Like I mentioned, I was never into it growing up, reading comics, and certainly not X-Men. So, this has all been kind of new to me.
Tony, I'm not saying I still don't enjoy a good booty or boobie, but like I can still, like, as much as that's wonderful, there's more going on sometimes that is like, ooh, and look at that also. Very flashy and entertaining.
I think he's talking about Bobby.
Oh, Bobby DeLaGhetto. We all love Bobby.
Looking for the Bobby, I think is probably a typo.
Big Bobby fan.
Yeah.
And Bobby, do I have you booked for this season, Bobby? Are we getting some Bobby DeLaGhetto in this season? If not,
we need to.
You got to hit me up on Instagram, Bobby. If you're interested if you got a Tuesday night free, you hit me up, my brother, because we need to get you in the house here for a show, my man.
Seriously, that would be awesome. That'd be awesome.
I thought Teenage John was a poet philosopher. I've been called things, Damien. That ain't it. That ain't it. Adult Hialeah is still looking for the old one.
Hey, Hialeah.
Oh, Raul, man. It's good to see you, brother. How you doing? And hey, Raul, if you want to get on an Omni episode, you just hit me up on Instagram, my man. I'm booking. Dude, I got 6 open.
He's another one we definitely should have.
He's super knowledgeable. This chat is packed with really Damien, if you want to come on and get in here, really knowledgeable people that I'd be happy to have get a shot, because I don't like having necessarily a ton of different people over and over again. If we can have people with new insights and new perspectives that have read these books at different times, right, or for the first time,
Absolutely. By the way, this guy, it would be great. We could have him Hulk out on the show, because he's done that in the past. He can actually Hulk out.
He's the bomb, and he was just down there. The Florida crew just had Robert Galvin drop in on them, and they looked like they had a ton of fun. Like they took these like 10, 12 person photos with all these awesome people in the comic community in Southern Florida, and Robert Galvin crashing the party coming down from the northern US. Phenomenal stuff. Really great. That's the stuff. That's the real juice in this community. Love it.
This is true. On John's channel, you can pull those shenanigans.
It looked like one. Yeah. I mean, I'm wearing board shorts, man. I got my board shorts on. I'm chilling here, man.
Bobby says he'll hit you up.
I'm not even wearing shoes.
There you go. All right. What's your next question there, John?
Yeah. So the next most popular question on my channel, when the groups that I asked was, why John? We're gonna skip that. We're gonna skip that question. We don't need that. We don't need to ask that one.
It started with a gun to my head, guys. And he's found ways to just make sure he can pull that trigger at any moment. I gotta go with it. I'm contractually.
I'm actually.
At this point.
I'm very curious. Has your view of the X-Men and Claremont's time at the X-Men changed at all over now that you've done basically 3 omnibus of his story? Has your view of these characters, of their journeys, of their stories, and of what Claremont contributed to this history, has any of that X-Men, Mike, what's going on? Has any of that changed for you because of this, because of this show and these readings?
I mean, I've just continued to fall deeper into the enjoyment of these characters. And I mean, I'm as quickly as I get obsessed with something like One Piece, I still am just like obsessed with these X-Men characters, the mutants, whether it's this stuff, the new stuff that, is coming out currently. I've just grown even more of an appreciation for Claremont's writing and like the stories that he has within this. Again, like I said, I wasn't expecting to enjoy everything we've been reading as much as I am. Like, I genuinely am just loving all of it, even past the burn stuff. And so I think for me, that's just something that's really stood out, that continues to grow in a positive way, of just, all these different things that he continues to pull out of his hat, of tricks of different characters. Again, the Brood saga to me was brand new. I mean, I get the general idea of like aliens, and I understand it was written during that popular time where a lot of writers were kind of trying that kind of theme out. But like, yeah, I mean, I'm loving it. And just, again, seeing some of the relationships, how things go with, everything after the Dark Phoenix saga and kind of where that had led to. And, Scott with his many lovers and being mixing women up with other women.
He's got a type, man. He really has a type. He wants leggy, busty telepaths. Yeah. Women who can read his mind and are happy with what they discover when they go in there.
Also, the stuff with Storm, I think is a huge change that I'm really growing into and curious more so than anything of where we're going with that. Because even now, I mean, where we finished was only what I think is like just the tip of the iceberg, right? Of what we're getting into with seeing her character transform even more so.
Yeah. I think across this omnibus and the next omnibus, you're really going to be kind of blown away by her journey. I know we got the vampire stuff that Candace mentioned, the Morlock, the first look at the Morlock story. We're definitely headed in an interesting way for her character. And the long form of his writing is really interesting, I think.
Oh, big time. Yeah, that's I think, like, the way certain things connect, and like, I mean, I know for some it's like harder to follow along, but like the little things he sprinkles in one issue that you don't necessarily get for like 6 to 10 issues later, maybe even longer. You know, I like the long game in that aspect as a reader, and I appreciate that, you know, especially knowing like I'm willing to, you know, stick it out and you know, go along with everything else. You know, and then at the same time, we do get issues though where you can just jump in and you can appreciate it for what it is and not be too lost. So I think he does a good balance of that overall, you know, for both sides of, you know, the fandom or the new, you know, someone's newer to it or whatever. So
totally.
JP's talking.
It's a great point. If your show is on Old Wolf's channel, I will crash it. I mean, I have complete access to his YouTube channel and can post anything I want at any time. So that is a problem. Yeah. Don't give John that power. That's the lesson.
That's great.
And X-Men Mike, I'm unfamiliar with X-Men Mike. If you've got a YouTube channel, somebody drop the link in there because I'm going to come back later and follow X-Men Mike.
So he's always trying to think what other he teams up with a few guys on another channel. They sell they have like auction nights and things like that.
Nice.
It's like a cool community hangout. They sell books.
The name alone inspires
gold.
Yeah, I love the name. I love the logo.
He's a big fan. Yeah, and he's on Instagram too. You guys,
then maybe we need to get X-Men Mike on here for an episode as well. Just cool. Chatting up X-Men. So
that'd be cool. This is his era.
That'd be phenomenal.
Yep, absolutely. All right, my next question for you. How would you rank the last 3 omnibus so far based on story?
I know Chet's gonna be mad because I do not rank volume 2, which is his big burn. Thank you, Tony. That's the big burn volume, is volume 2. Volume 1 is a lot of Cockrum, and then Byrne comes in at the end and starts off his Dark Phoenix. And then the big burn stuff seems to be in volume 2. Yeah. Volume 1 holds a ton of nostalgia for me. And Dave Cockrum holds a very high place for me. A lot of my early love for these characters, obviously the big ones introduced in this era, the Colossus, the Nightcrawler, the Storm, all centers around what Dave Cockrum set up. John Byrne crushed it, but for me, volume 1 is tough to beat. It's really just it's the juice for me of all of this stuff and all this groundwork. We talked about the Chris Claremont long game. Yeah. And I feel like so many things were planted there that for me, like, play out in these other runs. Yeah. But for me, it's in order. It goes 1, 2, 3. Like 1 is my favorite, 2 second, and 3 third. But the proximity of how closely they rank to each other is of interest. There's not a big gap between them. Right. And it's possible that when we get to 5 and 6, that those jump up the list, because I do have a ton of love for 5 and 6 and the stories inside of there as Storm comes into power, as the issues with the Marauders and the Morlocks come in. Yeah. So they rank a lot higher for me, and they may jump ahead of 3 and 4. 5 and 6 might jump up. But I will be very excited to see kind of how that ranks when we get through with those. And yes, JP, I do agree, but mostly because of the sheer volume and significance of what he did. Yeah.
Yep. By the way, X-Men Mike says he'd be down. So especially the Joe Mad era of X-Men.
Nice.
And people are subbing him up. Appreciate you guys.
I'll come back around when I get off the show and I'll sub you up, my brother.
Yeah. He says, do you remember how long the 12 ran through X-Men? I don't know what that
means. Yeah, the 12. What's up, Albert?
Albert in the chat. What is up, Albert?
Good to see you, my brother.
You're good, man. You're good. Appreciate you swinging in here.
John should be ashamed.
Looking off the season.
As much as I love the Dark Phoenix saga and Days of Future Past, which are phenomenal, I love the early Cockrum stuff. And God Loves Man Kills being thrown in that 3rd volume, for me, elevates the 3rd volume to be right up there in the company.
Yeah.
You know, I have so much love for God Loves Man Kills. It is my number one favorite single issue of X-Men, period. And rereading it this way has only pushed it up higher.
Yeah. By the way, if you're here in the chat right now, let us know how you would rank these last 3 volumes. If you've read all of them before, or if you've been reading them with us, or even if you're watching the replay, throw it in the comment section.
Yeah.
I'm curious how other people feel about this as well, because I would say I'm definitely mixed with that. It's hard to like not put one first ultimately. Right. So I understand that, but it is close, I think, between all 3 because they all have their strengths in a big way. So. All right, what else do you have? Or was that?
Yeah, I got 2 more questions for you.
Yeah.
This is one that I think is kind of interesting, and because we got people that have never read X-Men maybe coming in here for the first time, I was curious. Now that you've read 3 Omnis, you've read a bunch of stuff. How do you sell new readers on reading X-Men books, and where do you tell them to start?
Oh man,
because this happens to me all the time. People who feel like X-Men is too complicated, too many books, too many eras. It's not like Avengers, where there's really just usually one title at a time. This is a very complicated universe with so many branches. So somebody comes to you and says, I've never read X-Men, I really want to. What do you do to sell them, and where do you tell them to go?
So, I mean, I kind of just explain how I got into it. And for me, that was, hearing how great this Claremont run was just from word of mouth, and hearing other people talk about it, seeing other people post their books and just say how iconic or epic or just fantastic that the run is, that I was like, okay, I want to just give this a shot. And I literally started at the beginning. Now, granted, as you know, I actually started out with issue 94 from the main X-Men series, which is a fine place to start, but technically, I think anyone should really start with the Giant Size X-Men. So I would recommend people starting with Giant Size X-Men, and I would tell them to read that plus 94 through the first 6 or 7 issues and just give it a chance. And I mean, at that point, I think it's either for you or it's not. For me, I was completely hooked. And again, I know it's an earlier era, coming out of the mid 70s and everything else, but even with that and the style of writing, like, I absolutely loved it. I loved the characters of it. And the biggest I think one of the biggest sells for me, and this is for X-Men in general, that I tell people is, I don't know about you, but every once in a while I'll get like superhero fatigue, and from all these other, capes and villains type of, stories that we get from Marvel and DC, especially. I'm like, if you want a little bit of a break from that, or something a little different, but still gives you that, the action and everything else, I think that's the sell for me. Like, I like the general stories that they have about the team playing baseball, or the love triangle between, a few characters, or, some of the history of where they come from, the background of Colossus or Nightcrawler, or some of the struggles, internal struggles that Storm deals with as a leader, like all those other things. And it's not just about, we're superheroes and we stop villains, and yada yada yada. Like, it's way more than that. And I know people have described it as like a soap opera, or for comics, and that's kind of what it is. In a good way though. Like, it's and it's just it has so many other elements as opposed to just a typical
totally
bad good guy stop bad guy or whatever. So that's probably the biggest sell for me.
That's a great way to do it.
Yeah. I see.
Candace is great. Sorry, you want to scroll up? Sorry.
Yeah, I know. I have an answer for that. Well, I came in here barely reading X-Men, and now I'm a fangirl. Just jump in and ask Justin and Sean all your questions. Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely, like, and that's why we're here. Like, we want to talk about, we'll catch you up if there's like an inside moment or joke or something from a past season or episode. Or
and I think, to Candace's point, like, I'm not an expert. I've, for me, some of these issues I've only read the 1 or 2 times. Justin, he's reading these for the first time. What we love is including you, the community members who've maybe read these a ton, like Chad or whomever. And this is an opportunity to just expose ourselves to a world that is so vast, but we can shrink it down to the single issue that we're talking about, the single plot line that we're dealing with, the single, creative team, and really get into some of the details. So Mike, I was looking up it looks like the 12 first appeared somewhere around, and maybe I'm wrong, January of the year 2000 in the Adam Kubert years, somewhere around issue 377.
Oh, okay.
But maybe I'm wrong. If you got an earlier date, I just did a quick search. But it was the 12 is a comic book crossover storyline, but it's possible the characters came earlier. This is related to Apocalypse and some of his minions. So it's got to be sometime after X Factor and the sort of split when the original team left to form their own team. Maybe somewhere in that point. Does that sound right? But definitely looks like they're talking about issue 325.
Yeah.
So definitely Apocalypse and his eras of being just a boss villain.
Yeah. Chet says my first ever view of the X-Men page was them playing baseball, and that's all it took for me. Yeah, so like that, I love that. I always think back to X-Men 98. It's one of my favorite issues. The opening panel or splash page of that issue is them in Central Park in New York City ice skating. Before they get attacked by
the Sentinels, right?
The Sentinels, like that type of stuff.
Yes,
you just get like this. And to me, that I love Christmas. It's Christmas time in that issue. Like, there's so many little things about it. Again, it has nothing to do necessarily with superheroes or saving the world. That goes into that. One other thing too, John, to add to that question that I wanted to mention as well as kind of a selling point is how, again, this is mutants in general, how relatable it is to real life. The separation or the divide between or even like racism that's out there and hate and everything else that goes along with that. A lot of that, there are blends of storylines or blends of thought in what X-Men deal with and mutants deal with, and being different or being judged on based on how you look or what you believe in or your history or things like that. So that is very can be very relatable, and I can see that pulling in any reader in the fact it's not just this random made up stuff.
No. And you talk about a character like Kitty Pryde, right? Who has really been vital in volumes 2 and 3 of these omnibus, a character who goes from being, a young teenage kid, finds out she's got this power, parents that don't understand her. She goes to a school where she's the youngest person there, and they're all like battle-worn warriors. And she's this young kid trying to figure out who she is. What is my identity? How do I fit into this team, if you can call it that? I'm given responsibility, but I also at the same time restriction. How do I juggle these things? I mentioned several times that as a young guy, I wanted to be her, right? I wanted to be that new young kid at Xavier's Academy, learning from these amazing characters. I wanted to live her life. And that was a huge connective point for me. This was not about superheroes battling the multi-powered characters from the universe. It was instead a very human story of personal teenage identity. And I connected strongly to Kitty and her struggles to identify and define herself. I found that to be very poignant and again, my escapist mentality was, I want to be that student. I want to be there. I want to be hanging out with these characters and battling these bad guys and going to the danger room. And I wanted that.
Yeah. No, well said. Well said. I wanted to highlight, Daryl said it. It took me years to really get into X-Men, but if I had started with Giant Size X-Men 1, it would have been easier. Yeah, I agree. Definitely sets sort of a foundation for those new characters that are introduced.
Totally.
Obviously, with Claremont kind of taking it off from there. It's easy to follow along.
And with the proliferation of omnibuses coming from Marvel these days, there's so many options and places to dive in. But I do agree that if you want to get the foundation set for this universe, it's tough to beat Claremont Volume 1. It's really tough to beat that as a kickoff point. There's other options out there. I did a video on the best standalone X-Men comics that you can just read this and you don't need other connective tissue. And those are all wonderful.
Yeah.
But it's hard if you want to get a foundation understanding of all this stuff. It's hard to beat that Claremont Volume 1.
Yeah. Yeah. My next question I wanted to ask you was, let's see, this kind of blends into the other one I asked. Where do the talking about the Brood before? Where do the Brood fall in your rankings of X-Men villains? Like,
that's a great question.
Call it of all time, or even just of what we've read so far.
It's really hard because they're the most mindless villain that you have. I love Magneto. I love villains who you like. I love villains who you feel like you understand. So Mystique and Emma and Magneto rank really high for me.
Yeah.
I also really love Apocalypse now that he's been given this amazing backstory from the Hickman era. Sinister, I think, has been given a great modern era retelling. So it's tough because the Brood would probably rank lower as against those characters that are so multifaceted. The Brood are so simple. They're this hive-minded virus, and they just strike, and they're scary and they're concerning, but they aren't as like all-encompassing as some of these other villains that just suck you in, and you're like, yeah, Magneto is right. Kick those guys, but they deserve it. The survival of the fittest motto of Apocalypse is fascinating, and it's hard to argue against. I think he's a very interesting villain.
Yeah.
And I do love the Brood, but for me, the X-Men excel in two categories. Female characters. They have the hands down the best group of female characters, period.
Yeah.
And villains that are multifaceted, villains that you like and sympathize with. I know we hear all the time that Spider-Man and Batman have the best villain rogues galleries, whatever.
Right.
They have very one-dimensional villains, and I like them. I don't dislike them, but they're very simple. I mean, let's talk about Scorpion or Rhino or Vulture. These are very boring one-dimensional characters.
Right.
Magneto, Emma Frost. These are very multifaceted characters who shift between hero and villain because they're complicated and they're never easy to define.
Yeah.
That, for me as a reader, feeds me. And those characters rank really high. So I love Emma a ton. Yeah. I have a lot of love for that character. Mystique and Magneto as well. So as much as I love the Brood as far as like a horrifying force that's great in like an event, they probably rank lower.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, Bobby said, I'm not going to Brood on. Bobby,
oh my goodness.
He says, yeah, when they got infected by the Brood, I was wondering how they're going to get out of that. Yeah.
And I was very surprised at how great the Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers binary stuff melded in with that. And it made me want to go back and ultimately collect that run of Ms. Marvel by Claremont, because I wanted to get a better understanding of that character. And eventually, 10 years down the road, Justin and I might do Ms. Marvel Omnibus season, because there's a great collected omnibus I'm going to get at some point of that Claremont run, the 25, I think, issues of that run.
Yeah. I'll have to keep an eye out for that too. Yeah, I've been buying the issues, the single issues.
Right. We could just do it that way. I mean, we don't need a heavy book to carry around and pretend as a prop.
It's true. It's very true. You staple them all together. Chat might freak out though. I don't know. I don't want to.
He was mad enough at the video I posted on Instagram tonight. So sorry, Chat. He said heart palpitations, I think was the phrasing he used.
Any other? You have one more question there, John?
Yeah, my last one is probably a short one. So we can. I know we told wives that we would be around an hour, and we were right at it.
We're doing great.
Obviously, you're somebody that is kind of like a sandwich, has read the bread, but hasn't gotten all the stuff in the middle quite yet.
Yeah.
Is there an X-Men character that you've read about in the present, but has not shown up yet in Claremont's era that you're excited to have appear? Is there a character that you're like, oh, I'm really looking forward to when we get to season 27 of this show, when they finally introduce this person?
I'm going to be honest. You mentioned Sandwich, and I was just looking the whole time. I finally found it.
Darn it, Wolverine. We're going to crash again because of your damn sandwich.
So yeah. All right. So is there a character I'm looking forward to that I've either heard of or read about in future or in
because I mean, by the time you read Hickman, there are so many characters that we have not discovered yet in where we are in the Claremont era.
Yeah.
So there's got to be somebody that you're like, ooh, I really like this character in the future. I would love to see them first appear in this world.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that there's a few. I mean, from a villain standpoint, Apocalypse. I mean, I know I've heard so many great things about Age of Apocalypse, that whole run, which I know Daryl had recently read. You had attempted reading some of it at one point. It's a lot, but that character, and even just with the little bit that I've gotten from the Hickman era, has really gotten me intrigued. The other one being Sinister, which we haven't, hit yet either. And that's another character that is like wild and wacky to me. I still can't fully figure him out based on the Hickman stuff. And I know that to a degree, that's kind of who he is, right? He's like, he plays both sides. He's very shady. He seems like he has your best interest, but it's really his own. I think those two are big ones for sure. And then, team members that join the X-Men, like Jubilee, is another one.
Nice pick.
Big time. Like I'm more familiar with her, thanks to the series, the X-Men animated series, things like that from the 90s, just seeing
she was the Kitty Pryde of that series. They didn't use Kitty. Yeah. They replaced Kitty with a different young teen mutant, and they did Jubilee. So great pick.
So she stands out. The other two that are a bit, timeline jumping would be Cable and Bishop. Those two as well. I've been getting a lot of them in the more recent stuff, the Hickman stuff and the Jerry Duggan stuff. And I love those two. I love the back and forth and just their side stories. And I know they're, I still am learning a lot about them. I don't know, everything about them, but those are characters I would love to get more insight on their original creation or how they were,
for sure
introduced. And I know we have ways.
I love it. Yeah. I will say, as far as Apocalypse and Sinister, I genuinely feel like Hickman is better with those characters than the original creators. The original creators usually had them as simple mustache twirling villains. They weren't as multifaceted, and it took a while. And Age of Apocalypse really reinvented Apocalypse in a lot of ways. Sinister, a lot of people complain that in the Hickman era is very flamboyant and kind of over the top in a way that he wasn't always previous to that. I loved him in Executioner Song. I thought he had a great part in that. Same with Apocalypse. That was a great sort of end of Claremont era event. But yeah, great picks. Good choices. And Albert, this season we get our Forge. We will see that guy become a force in the X-Men universe this season. Bishop, you might wait till season 10 of this show before we get to Bishop.
A little, yeah. Daryl says a little ways for the other two.
Bishop is in this season. We have the first issue. The first issue of Life Death. Like I was saying, that Barry Windsor Smith story with Storm. Bishop is on the cover right there with her, and we have not met Bishop. Not Bishop. Sorry. Forge is on that cover. And we haven't met Forge yet. So prepare for Forge very soon this season. We will get that character's first appearance.
Yeah. Bishop is a while, right? He's in the
Bishop is I think 287, 285, somewhere in there.
I can picture the cover.
Yeah.
Because he's on the first cover.
Yeah, he's on the cover of his quote first appearance, but it's really a cameo last page thing. The next issue, he's got a full story in it. And so I know there's debate about his first appearance, but you just get all of those. They're all 90s comics. You just buy all of them. Just buy everything.
Says I never trusted Gambit, Bobby.
Nor should you.
another one. He's another character I'm curious about. I wanted to go back here. I saw Candace said, if you're new here, just know that this will be the shortest episode. Very true, Candace.
282. Sorry, thank you, chat. I appreciate you, brother.
Oh yeah, there it is. Okay.
So there's that Bishop character. We have almost 100 issues before you get that guy.
Wow. All right.
Love Bishop, but it's a ways.
Just as the Krakoan age stuff really brings us all aspects and multitudes of sinister, absolutely insane. Kudos to Hickman. Yeah, man. At this point, it's not even Hickman. It's he's I don't know how much of it.
Yeah, it depends on which writer.
Duggan and them. Yeah, I think they've kind of
Duggan and Kieran Gillen.
Yes, yeah. So all right. Yeah, great question, John. Ultimately, those were the questions I had. The other ones kind of
perfect
covered already. I know you mentioned you had some funny ones? Did you want to run through them real quick before we wrap up here?
I just did them. Yeah, who is John and what?
Oh, those are okay. Oh, perfect.
I threw them in as we were going along. I didn't slow down. I was just plowing right through.
Nice, nicely done.
Daryl, you've got issue 186, which I do believe is that life death issue with Forge, if I'm not mistaken. But my brain, I can't remember.
Yeah.
I've got 186 down next to your name.
He says, by the way we get to Krakoa and Orcus will age 11 years. Oh, yeah, there you go. If anybody, well, first I wanted to thank everybody for hanging out with us. We got 13 people hanging out in the chat right now on Halloween night of all nights. So we appreciate you taking your time away from the candy and all that fun stuff.
The heartwarming, important family time of Halloween.
Yeah. And we're going to be back this Tuesday coming up, next Tuesday on John's channel. So make sure you are subscribed to his YouTube channel. His link's in the description below. 9:00 Eastern. That's our usual time. So if you're not sure or ever want to reach out to us, just reach out to us over on Instagram. We're there as well. As John mentioned, if you're interested in being part of the show or being a guest, just reach out to us and we'll see if we have some open spots still available, which I know currently we do. So
yeah, we got 6 open spots. I'm John's Comics with Kids on Instagram, easy to find. We have Magic Lasso in issue 176 next week. So you got a week to spend time. Just open the Marvel app or grab your single issues or grab your Omni and read issue 176.
That's a cool cover too. I remember someone had brought that cover up, in last season, just saying that they were looking forward to that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to dive in and start reading it as soon as I put down my One Piece book. Yeah, everybody, make sure you smash that like button on the way out. We appreciate that. Subbed up if you're not already. I feel like there was something else I wanted to mention, but I can't think of it at the moment. Yeah, regardless, just be ready for next week. Hope you guys took your notes down for tonight's episode so that you can answer the questions that we'll be asking next week. And anything else, John, before we wrap?
No, that is it. Yeah, we will continue to post stuff on Instagram and shorts here on YouTube. So if you're looking for silliness around these issues, follow us both and you'll see lots of good times.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, chat, we're going to see if we get a few other new people before we start to open it up to duplicates. So we'll keep you posted for sure.
Yes, sir.
A few others, try to get some new guests in here as well. Season. So, but yeah, happy Halloween, everybody. Be safe. Enjoy the rest of your week. And till next time, we will talk to you later.